What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Um, Today I had a feeling, and today I had a thought um, that I've been thinking about for a couple of days now. I just didn't really understand, what it was that I was feeling. Um, but today I kind of got a little clarity, so to speak. Today, um, Today I kind of want to talk about the process of moving through your your problems and moving through your pain and learning how to forgive and the process that takes and the form that takes. I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question, and I kind of want everybody to think about, the answer. It's not something that I want anybody to answer to me directly. It's just more of a get you to think type of thing. If you're going through something, if you're dealing with a problem, if you're dealing with hurt, and if you're dealing with a situation where you don't know what it is that you have to do or where it is that you go, if it involves forgiveness, what do we do to navigate through that? Do we work around it where we try to avoid the thing that actually hurt us? Do we run away from it where we don't acknowledge it at all? We just try to forget about it, try to forget that it ever happened, and try to outgrow it? Or do we work through it where we own up and work literally through the problem? I had an experience a couple weeks ago with my grandmother where I was avoiding seeing my family because I was ashamed of my current situation. My current situation has put me into a really bad place mentally where I'm very, very uncomfortable being around other people. I don't like being out in public. I don't like being around anybody else. It just gives me really, really bad anxiety. So one day, my parents decided that they were going to go see my grandmother, who's been sick in and out the hospital. And I decided to go with them. Just out of the blue, out of the random, I just decided to go with them. That whole day, I kind of stuck to myself. Felt very uncomfortable. And it was just really awkward for me. Before we left that day, my grandmother decided that she wanted to stop everybody and she wanted to pray for me. Nobody asked her to, nothing. She just, before we left, she just said, listen, before anybody leaves, I feel like I got to pray for him. And she went to go grab me. Like, she went to go put her hand on my shoulder, and I kind of flinched a little bit. And as soon as she started praying, I broke the hell down. I mean, I broke down like I've never broken down before. I can't even explain it. But the one thing that I can say, right, is my grandmother prayed for me, but the way that she prayed, it felt so authoritative. It didn't feel like it was my grandmother, because my grandmother is very loving, very comforting. Like, she has this very comforting presence about her and very loving. But the way that she prayed, it felt authoritative. I don't even know how to describe it, but it felt like whatever it is that she said, you had to do. There was no option. There was no choice. You had to do it. And I felt better after that. So then it got me thinking, right? I've seen people who watch church videos, learn the word, watch church online, everything of the sort. And I've seen people shy away from certain topics that's being spoken to in church. And I'm always wondering, like, at first I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe they were preaching it wrong. Maybe that there was something to the service that really was making them uncomfortable. And, I didn't think too much of it. But then I started realizing after that experience with my grandmother I started realizing that maybe there was something in that message that was speaking directly to them that made them feel uncomfortable. So then it gets you wondering, how many of us are trying to avoid what God is trying to tell us directly? I kind of came to the realization that whenever you hear a word, or whenever you hear a conversation, or whenever you hear anything, and if it's directly linked to a situation or a feeling of yours, and you get uncomfortable by it, then to me, in my own opinion, I feel like that's God's way of coming to you directly to speak to your situation. I personally feel like when you get that discomfort, that's when you really need to lean into it more, because obviously it's speaking something to your heart. And it's a lot, it's easier said than done because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable or nothing like that. But at the same time, try to look at it from a different perspective where it's not discomfort, it's something changing. What if that message that you're running away from is what you needed to hear? What if that conversation that you're running away from is what you need to do to get closure or to get understanding? What if that message that makes you feel uncomfortable is exactly what you need to get over that discomfort? So then it leads me to that thought, what do we do when we're trying to work through pain? Are we trying to work around it, run away from it, or work through it? And my opinion is, if you need to work through it, then you need to work through that discomfort. If you hear, see, or notice anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, then work in that, because whatever is in that is meant to work through you and in you. A more modern definition of it, right? Modern psychology says that you need to work through the pain. They're trying to teach you how to work through it. They're going to help you work through it. You don't ever hear a psychologist or a therapist ever say, listen, we're going to help you work around this. We're going to help you work, get away from this. If they do, that's a lie. They're not really helping you. They're just hiding it. They're not helping you, they're hiding you. God wants to help you. So the best way to do it is to work through it. You can work through the pain of being disappointed. You can work through the loss of a loved one. You can work through the anger that comes with losing your career, with losing your wife, or whatever it is, you can work through it. Now, psychologists and therapists, they're going to have you face the trauma and help teach you how to work through it. But God is going to, let's put it this way, a therapist will help you look at it differently. God is going to help you feel differently about it. See, a therapist is going to tell you that they're going to help you work through it. They're going to have you face it, bring it back into the here and now, acknowledgement is consciously knowing and consciously accepting what is, and then they're going to help you work through it with tools and skills and everything on how to accept. Acceptance is a conscious notion. But God and church and faith is going to help you feel differently about it. I really don't know who needs to hear it or who needs to accept it. But I've been through situations where I'm going through a church service and I'm listening, and then something hits me, and it's just like it hits me right here. And then it's just like it makes me so uncomfortable because it's one of those things where I don't want to hear this. I don't want to have to face this, but then it speaks directly to my heart. How many of us have ever experienced anything like that, right? So the one thing that I can say is that whenever you get into a situation where you feel like something is speaking directly to your heart, where you feel that discomfort, or if you feel that heartbreak, lean into it. Lean into it because there's something to gain from it. God is ripping away that pain from your heart, and he's going to replace it with his word, so that way you can have a better understanding of what it is that's going on in your situation. I believe that. So what do you want to do? Do you want to work around it? Do you want to run from it? Or do you want to work through it? Again, we all have a choice. Everybody has a choice on what they do and how they get through it. But the problem is that whenever we make a choice, we don't know whether or not the choices that we make are going to be the right ones. We think, yeah, this is what's best for me. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get through it. And then when things don't work out in our favor, we get mad. And it just adds on to the anger and the resentment. What do you want to do with your situation? How do you want to get over everything? How do you want to move on? Because there's 3 outcomes that can happen when you work through your pain and your trauma. Either there's going to be a breakdown, there's going to be a breakthrough, or there's going to be a breakup. There could be a breakthrough to forgiveness. There can be a breakup with forgiveness, or that there can be a breakdown of forgiveness. When you break down before forgiveness, then you shut down completely. If you have a breakthrough forgiveness, then you understand and you accept forgiveness in your heart, and you're able to move forward with that person. You're able to work towards something better. If you break up, that means that you acknowledge and you forgive, but you don't want to have to deal with the same thing. I'm working within myself for a breakthrough, and I'm hoping for a breakthrough with my family. I'm hoping for a breakthrough. I've spent the last 9 years with my wife, and hasn't always been good. It hasn't always been bad either. We've always had moments, and it's always been back and forth. Same thing with my kids. I don't want to give up on them. But the reality is, I need to accept the fact that we may never be the same again. I'm hoping for a breakthrough and I'm working for a breakthrough, but the reality is that that may not be the case. So, what do I do with that truth? Do I run away from it? Do I run around it? Or do I work through it? I'm trusting that everything's going to be okay. Whatever my grandmother prayed into my heart that day really changed something in me. And I feel like I have to share whatever it is. I have to share it. I don't know what that is, but I just feel like I have to share it. And what I want to share with you is, don't run away from it. Work through it. Lean into it. Because there's something there for you. There's something there. It may not be what you want. It may not be what you're hoping for. It may not even be what you would expect. But there's something there. So lean into it. Open your heart, open your mind. Feel the feels. Feel the hurt. Feel the pain. Feel everything that comes with it. No matter what it is, no matter what you do, just lean into it and feel it. Because the more you feel it in God's word, the more better it's going to be, because that means that whatever it is that you're feeling, He's twisting it around and He's turning it around for you in your favor. It's going to be okay. I said it before, I say it again. You're in good hands. Always have been, always will be. You'll be all right.